So there is something I want to talk about today, and that being the price of racing late models. I feel like most people aren't willing to talk about the financial side of the sport, but I believe it's more important now than ever to inform anyone interested. Whether you are a sponsor, a fan, or someone looking to get into the sport. So I'll be using the upcoming race, the Idaho 200, as an example. Before I get too deep, I want everyone to know that this is my perspective. Other people's may be cheaper or more expensive, depending on, certain things that go on into their program. This is also just a weekend's worth. This does not include, the car, all of our tools and equipment, trailer, and any other expenses that we have made prior to this event. The Idaho 200 is the biggest event I'll attend in 2024. The event is going to last 3 days long, starting on a Thursday and ending Saturday. Thursday will be practice and solely practice. Friday will be some little more practice, qualifying later in the evening, and then LCQ heats towards the end of the night. Saturday morning will be an LCQB main, and the main event shortly after. There are a ton of cars registered, I think 40 plus, and only 24 make it into the main event. So now the part that most of you have been waiting for is all the expenses. So I'm going to start from leaving my house to the end of the weekend. And just to remind everybody, this is only my weekend cost and not anything leading up or after. To begin with, we got to get the car and trailer to the track. And State Line is about a 3-hour drive from here. So allocating money for fuel alone to get there and back, probably going to be around $300 for the truck. So pit entry fees. Pit entry fees are essential for the racetrack. And once you show up, you must sign in. And this is to allow the tracks to afford to operate. They got a lot of people running the racetrack, flaggers, EMTs, back gate people, manager, security. There's a ton that goes into it. And so they charge an entry fee. And I'm going to assume for me as a driver, it'll be $150 for the weekend, maybe more, because it is the Idaho 200, which is their biggest event. And then for crew, I'm going to assume it's around $40 per day or 50, it's a ballpark. So I'm bringing $650 to about $800 just for me and the crew to get into the back gates. Now, just as my truck takes fuel to get us to the track, the race cars also take a ton of fuel, and it ain't just normal gas pump fuel, it is race fuel. Race fuel is not cheap, and typically, fuel runs about 11 to $15 per gallon. So we're going to probably need around 40 gallons of fuel. And so estimating 40 gallons at that price, we're coming up with about $600 just for fuel on the weekend. And that's just to make the car go in circles. Tires are the biggest expense of the weekend. Typically, you go through 1 or 2 sets of tires in a normal local show weekend, but this isn't your normal local show. This is probably the biggest event of 2024 around the Northwest, besides a few other races. This is a 6-tire race in the 200 laps, so you get 4 to start and then 2 at the halfway break. Don't matter which tires you use, it's just whatever you prefer. So you have to buy 6 tires automatically just to run the main event and qualify in. But with practice all day Thursday, and extra heat races that you may end up being in due to maybe not being fast enough, you're going to want to make sure you have enough. So I am buying 12 tires, and tires are around 190 to 210, depending on, you know, the market currently. So I believe with the 12 tires that we are buying, that we will be spending around 2,400 to 2,600, and this is the biggest expense. It ain't cheap, but in order to go racing and compete for the win, you have to have tires. I'm going to talk about lodging next. Hotels aren't cheap, but 3-hour drive for 3 days back and forth is just not really worth it to anybody, I don't think, especially on gas and just on the person itself. That's a lot of driving. So we are staying in a hotel for 2 days, maybe 3, depending on what time things end. And you know, we got a crew of 5 and then family members and things like that. So I believe we are going to need three rooms for everybody, you know, sharing rooms. And rooms are going to run us about $125 to $150 per night. So I'm going to assume it's going to be $750 to $850, depending on prices on hotels. But you know, in order for you to be competitive, for you to be in the right mindset and be ready to go racing, it's essential to get your sleep. I will also be bringing an extra $500 to $1,000 for any emergency needs, whether you need to run to the parts store or, you know, something fails on the car or, you know, anything like that. You never want to be short on money, so we'll be bringing that extra. And with everything included that I just mentioned, I believe I will need around, you know, $5,000 to $6,500 in cash to allow us to make sure that we can afford the weekend and do the sport that I enjoy. To sum everything up, the price of racing is very expensive. I would not be able to do this without my partners, and I want to stress to everybody that if you cannot afford it, it is okay. Also, lastly, I want to say is just have fun. Racing, again, is a hobby. It's not, you know, at this level, you're not going to do it professionally. And it takes a lot of money to do it. So just have fun, you know, enjoy yourself, enjoy the weekend. Go have fun, go race, you know. And that is the number one thing I want to stress, because I raced for a majority of my life, and over time, you know, things get hard. It gets hard to go racing. But the most important thing is to have fun at the end of the day. Thank you for watching my first video. If you would kindly leave a comment and subscribe, I would very much appreciate it.